aldosterone. So it's a question, let's say, that's quite delicate. But since it comes up all the time, you can more or less prepare for it and have an answer that's mentally well structured. So there are disqualifying answers to this question. For example, the answer, I got fired, that's it, I got fired. Well, if you say you got fired, they're immediately going to ask you why. And actually, from that point on, you can't win. Why? Because either you got fired because it was your fault, like you say, yeah, I was always late. And then, I got warnings, but in the morning, I just can't wake up. Or the road is really bad where I live, I have problems at home, all that. I just wanted a little bit of tolerance, a little bit of flexibility. And then, and I got fired. You see, with that kind of answer, you say you got fired, you say it's your fault. And then what are they going to think? They're obviously going to imagine that you'll behave exactly the same way if you work for them. They'll think you'll always be late and that they'll end up firing you. All right, so wrong answer, another wrong answer. They fired me, but it wasn't my fault. There you go. I was discriminated against by so-and-so machine. They did this to me. They did that to me. They're awful, etc. Okay, let's even imagine it's true. Let's imagine what you're saying is true. And when you got fired, it really wasn't your fault at all. Now, you need to know one thing. There is instinctively among employers a kind of solidarity. That means, what is he going to think? He's going to say to himself, okay, I've heard his or her side of the story, but I haven't heard the employer's side. And probably if I heard the employer's side, well, this dismissal is justified. You should know that all employers fire people and do so regularly. And for them, they are 100% right in 100% of the cases. They are right, no matter how the employee sees it, even if sometimes the employee takes them to labor court. You see, for them, they are always right. So if you come from the perspective of an employee and you tell them, yeah, they fired me, but well, they were wrong, etc., they will never stand with you. They will rather be on your employer's side. So again, it's not good for you. There are career advisors who say that if you were fired, but it was as part of a redundancy plan, like your company, for example, decided, because it has cash flow problems, market issues, etc., that it decided to lay off a group of people. And you, along with them, you can say it then yes and no. The problem with that is, it's true that on one hand, it's not going to work. We won't hold it against you during the interview. So that could be good news. But the problem with that is that we will hold it against you. At the time of salary negotiation, it means that in their mind, they have a range, you see. And if you say that you lost your job or that you're at risk of losing it, or if in one way or another you hint that you're going through a crisis, unfortunately, they're going to hold it against you, and unfortunately, it's going to cost you money, because they will. If they ever end up hiring you, they're going to undervalue you. So you need to know that now. One important thing, when you arrive at an employer, at a potential employer, we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the future. And the time we have during this interview is limited. So what I want as a candidate is to maximize my chances of getting hired. In other words, I want to use every minute to talk about the role, to talk about the future, to talk about my skills. You see, because it's about density, I want to tell you that it's about density. The arguments that I'll be able to make in the 30 minutes, 1 hour, or 45 minutes I'm given, well, that density will work in my favor. But on the other hand, I don't want to waste time. And in that case, what I don't want is to spend too much time talking about the past. It doesn't make sense. If I'm going to talk about the past, talk about an ex or a former employer, you see that I'm wasting my time and that I'm going into an area where there's no way to score any points. There's no way to say who I am. There won't be any way to talk about my skills or the role I'm here for. So in this room, I'm just wasting my time. So this nonsense, I'll have to quickly dismiss it by giving arguments that are acceptable, that aren't against me. I'll give you an example from my career in a moment where I broke this rule, and I'll tell you how. And in some cases, everything I tell you in all the videos and everything you read in the guides, everything you hear in other videos and other sources, These are rules, let's say general ones that apply most of the time, but you can break them as long as you have a solid argument, you have a solid reason. You can't just break them because you didn't know or you don't care. No, that's not it. Sometimes you can break them. I'll tell you in a minute why or how. I had a particular case. So the answer I recommend, and that worked very well in my career, is this one. I'll give you an example. Maybe some kind of parallel. Imagine you're with a girl. Imagine you have a girlfriend. That's it. You have a girlfriend and you're with her. Let's say for 3 months, and she asks you the question and she says, "Why are you with me?" That's a question that also falls into the girlfriend zone. I mean, there's not a single girl who won't ask you this question at some point, even if that's not the topic of the video. So if she asks you the question, how do you answer? I'm going to give you two answers. I'll give you two answers, and you tell me which one you think is the right answer. So answer A, listen carefully. Answer A is I'm with you. Because my ex-girlfriend, she was terrible. My ex-girlfriend, you see, she used to have fits. She would throw tantrums all the time. I didn't get along with her. She thought I was always wrong. She criticized everything I did, all that. That's why I'm with you. Answer A, B. I'm with you because you're such an amazing person. You make me travel. When I met you for the first time, we connected. You know, it was that evening so and so. And then I felt that with you, I was somewhere out of time. There was a trust that was established between us. The classic, I felt like I'd known you forever. I don't know why people say that, but well, it's not a big deal. Okay, that's answer B. Which one, in your opinion, is the best answer? You can see right away that it's answer B. You're not going to say I'm with you because the other one is bad. It's the same in a job interview. You don't go to an employer and say, yes, I'm here because my previous employer was bad. That doesn't work, okay? Because you're speaking badly about your previous employer. They'll think you're someone who doesn't have a very strong work ethic, someone who will criticize their employer, and potentially, if they hire you the day you leave them, you'll speak badly about them. And again, remember what I said earlier in the video, the natural, instinctive, gut level solidarity, literally between employers. If you speak badly about your employer, they are instinctively in solidarity with the employer, not with you. All right. So there you go. You have to tell them that. You always take, so if you sent a resume to a company, you looked up that company, all that, you are capable. Normally, I say normally. So if you can't do that on the day of an interview, I can't do anything for you. At this stage, you should be able to articulate 3 or 4 solid reasons why you want to work for this company. And those are the reasons you give. When they ask you why you left your employer, instead of telling them your employer is bad, you tell them that they are too good. You see what I mean? Instead of saying, my employer, for example, lacked vision and I felt like my company was moving in all directions. We kept changing direction all the time, and then we had outdated technology and all that. Watch how you'll translate this, you'll say. Because when I looked into your company, I did my research, I talked to some of your employees, I checked online, I follow you on social media. I was impressed by your vision, impressed by your technology, which is innovative. You don't say that the technology at the company I work for is outdated, by the way. You should leave a company with outdated technology. For me, I've worked in information technology in tech, and you know, in tech, there's no forgiveness if you feel like you're in a company like that. And its technology is outdated. I just wouldn't say why, because if the technology is outdated, it means there are no clients. It means that the competition will crush them, will take everything from them. It means they'll be demoralized, they'll crush their type of work, they'll make layoffs, and they might even potentially collapse. So one day you need to be with people who have vision, who have technology, who know where they're going. These aren't people who change direction every 2 or 3 days, bringing in someone different who changes direction again. So don't say that as a criticism of your company. Turn it into a positive point for the company you want to go to. Don't worry, they're not going to tell you why your company doesn't have a vision or that your company isn't visionary. They won't say that, they won't go that far. So what you need to do is use this as an opportunity to talk about the role you want to move into. This will be an opportunity for you to talk about this company and to say what interests you about it. And normally, if everything goes well, the answer shouldn't last more than 30 seconds. If you go on for a minute, it means you've really added too much. It should last 30 seconds, 40 seconds at most, maybe a bit more, as long as you share a specific anecdote related to them. You say, for example, I saw that you released this product so and so. All of this, of course, if it's appropriate, if there's something special or significant in their recent news, and you want to ride that wave and say that's what caught your attention. For example, let's say they went public, let's say they have growth that's higher than any other company on the market, and so on. Now you can say it, okay, and that's what attracted you to them. So it's not that you're trying to escape a situation, but you're looking to move toward another one. All right, there you go. Now I promised you, I told you that one day I broke that rule because it can happen. Yes, it can happen. Sometimes when I was at a company, I would arrive for the interview and then, well, there you go, he would talk to me. And then it happens, the question, why do you want to leave your employer? And there, he had my resume in hand, so he knew who my employer was. So I gave a Batu answer, something like that. I don't remember exactly what I said. It was a Batu answer. Okay. Then he looks at me and says, I know this field, I know this sector, I know people who work in this company. That means I know your colleagues potentially. That's what he's telling me. And then this company still has the reputation of being jerks, and things are going very badly in the company, and they're laying people off every 2 weeks. See what I mean? That's exactly what he told me. So, of course, the question could have made me uncomfortable. There was inside me, deep down, even if I didn't show it, there was a certain discomfort. That being said, the guy who was conducting the interview probably did it as a tool to make me a little uncomfortable, because the job in question still required someone who knows how to navigate situations with diplomacy and confidence, even when they might be made to feel uncomfortable. So he used that as a trick, and on top of that, since he had some insider information, some privileged information, well, he threw it at me right there, kind of to say, look, you told me things are going well at your company, that you're about to leave for reasons X, Y, because you like us and everything. Except your company, they're jerks and firing everyone. Okay, what did I say? Well, I smiled and said, you seem to be very well informed. He started laughing, and there was, if you will, a moment of connection. That means he broke somewhere. He broke the role. There was a barrier that was broken. I was no longer the candidate playing his role, and he was no longer the recruiter also playing his role, and each of us plays with a very codified script. Suddenly, there was a moment of humanity somewhere, and of course it was risky, but I wasn't the one who brought that up. I wasn't the one who said they were jerks. He was the one who said it. It came from him, and I said, you're well informed. I wasn't going to defend them. I'm not their lawyer either, because look, let me tell you something. I'm not going to criticize my former employer, my ex, or my almost former employer. That's true. I'm not going to do it. Nevertheless, I'm not going to become their lawyer either. I'm not going to throw myself headfirst into a fight defending them to defend someone else's reputation. Be careful, there are limits. I'm not better than anyone else. I got the job. Okay, I got the position. That's all. Because remember one thing. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you're going to an interview. I'd like to tell you something. The people you'll meet in an interview room are people just like you and me. They're people like you. They're just people. That's all. They're people like those in your family, like your friends. That's it. Just people. And they're playing a role just like you want to play a role. That's all. Just relax and you'll see that humanity. If you're a nice person, someone who knows how to connect with people, someone who knows how to talk to them, you'll see that it's much more important than what you say or don't say. All right, I'm done. I've been recruited even when I broke every interview rule and didn't follow any of them. You see, but I gained in return, not just because I broke the rules, just because I didn't care. I don't know. I broke the rules in situations where I knew I would gain more by breaking them, and I was also taking a big risk by breaking them rather than following them. The gray mouse had, I wanted them to remember me, and I felt that I was in favorable territory. That's the territory. You need to understand your own psychology and recognize if the people in front of you are unconventional. If you play it too safe, too gray mouse, you'll just repeat what the last 15 candidates have said. You leave the room and they've already forgotten you, you see? But if you do something, if there's something, if there's some friction, if there's something, it's true that it's a very big risk. What do you lose? The risk is that they answer you by saying no. Anyway, you know that in most cases, when you go to an interview, they're going to listen to a lot of people, and the majority only get a negative response. You know it. So sometimes you just shouldn't hesitate to play unconventional cards. That's all. If you have the condition, do it only under those circumstances. I'm not saying to do it all the time. If you feel that in this specific case, the conventional card won't work, that the conventional card has a very low probability of making you stand out, or that they remember you or say yes to you. In that case, don't hesitate to go all in. In that case, don't hesitate to be unconventional. And then you'll see either it works, and if you've judged their psychology well, it should work. Otherwise, well, that's how it is. All right, so very important. Always pay attention, judge, really feel. It's very important. And to feel, you also have to ask questions. Remember, very important, you're not going to go into an interview and then you sit there as if you were at the police station. They ask you questions, you answer. They ask a question, you answer. No, that's not it. An interview is a conversation. So also learn to ask questions and listen and bounce back on the questions. That's very important. Maybe I should make a special video about the attitude to have during an interview because I got a bit off topic. If you noticed, I talked about a very specific question, and now I'm generalizing a little bit about other things, but that's okay. I'll make another video another time and I'll talk a little bit about the rest. See you very soon, my friends. Remember the book Toxic, which is now available in audio format. It's available in paperback, Kindle, and also on Audible. What career coaches don't say. See you soon, my friends.